Hey everybody, welcome back to Jay Sit Down, a football podcast. I'm your host, Jay Gay, here today with Nick Winkler, of course, as always. Glad to have him on the show. Nick, big day in the NFL yesterday, but first, before we get to that, man, 49ers and Chargers, man, your 49ers got a close win over LA, so why don't you talk about that and recap that game?
Yeah, I mean the game started off poorly, right? With the Chargers going down the field, making the defense, look bad, scoring a touchdown. Then the Niners went down and settled for a field goal. And then the next time they got the ball, turnover. And then the next time they got the ball, block punt. So it was like, oh man, here we go again. It's gonna be one of those games where they're expected to win, and then they find a way to blow it. But the defense came out great in the second half. The offense as well. I mean, Elijah Mitchell looked fantastic in his return from injury, 18 carries, which is a little more than I expected. I thought it would be a pretty 50-50 split. They're trying to keep Christian McCaffrey healthy with his injury history. And Elijah Mitchell has injury history as well. Only 11 games last year. He only played one before Sunday this year. So you want to keep both guys healthy. You don't want to give out either of them 20 plus carries. You want to try to get the ball in your playmakers' hands, though. And that's kind of the thing they were doing, right? They gave it to Debo. They gave it to Kittle. They gave it to McCaffrey. And then when all of those guys were covered, or when those guys were drawing the defenses, Ayuk had himself a great game. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Ayuk get 6 to 8, maybe 10 catches a week going forward. Like he's going to be open a lot because defenses have to focus. They got to pick, right? Do we want to get beat by McCaffrey? Do we want to get beat by Mitchell? Do we want to get beat by Kittle? Do we want to get beat by Debo? And it's like all those guys, and then Ayuk. It's the fifth guy. So I think he's going to have a really great second half of the season. I think the 49ers are going to do great. They got tough contests coming up. They got to go to Mexico City to take on the Cardinals, and those international games can be a little distracting sometimes. You're out of your element. You're in a different country. You're doing different things. But hopefully, Kyle Shanahan and those guys keep everybody right, and they can show up and play a great game on Sunday.
Yeah, man. As you said, Mexico City against the Cardinals. It's gonna be an interesting game. Arizona's kind of been on a skid this year, so it's
Yeah,
up and
yeah.
down, and it's just, I mean, you wonder what's really going on within that building, and so I definitely think if they don't right the ship, that Cliff Kingsbury might be gone. Who knows?
Right? He might not finish the season, right?
Yeah, 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 because it's been very tough, for him and those Cardinals up there. So, but yeah, it'll be an interesting game, definitely. Mexico City, so that's intriguing. And I will say this, man, the NFL has done a great job, in these other countries as well, just doing the international games, and I've been impressed with how, over the last couple of years they've been incorporating that, and they said that they plan to expand that moving forward to other countries. So that's going to be really exciting to see how they do that, man.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I mean, I heard that the Germany game, like 800,000 ticket requests were put in or something, and they could only sell 70,000. So, yeah, it was the first time in Germany. So that just shows you, like, hey, that they can hold more games there and sell out, no problem. I mean, I've heard talks. There have been a lot of talks about, hey, they're trying to put together an international division, right, or an international conference where
Wow.
4 teams are playing over there. Yeah, I know this is something they've been planning for a while now. That's why they started this expansion to London a long time ago. It's been slowly in the process, right? And then it went from 1 game to 2 games to 3 games. Now they've got 3 games, and they've got a game in Mexico City. It's like they're slowly working it out, and I'm not opposed to it. I think it's a great idea to get everybody else involved. I know, you're looking at all these games, and I love looking at the crowds because it's not just it wasn't just Seahawks and Bucks fans, right? I saw Niners fans, I saw, Packers fans, like I saw everybody there. And that's what we want, right? We want to expand the game. We want everybody to understand what we understand here in America, that football is the most exciting game in the world.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. And I was really intrigued by that game there. So between the Bucks and the who did they play in Germany?
Seahawks.
The Seahawks. That's right. And yeah, so very close game there. Tampa Bay ended up getting a much needed win for them. But so moving forward here, the Vikings and Bills. I think we could say that probably was the game of the year on Sunday between the Bills and Vikings. I mean, that was amazing. Bills were pretty much dominating for the majority of the game, and then man, Minnesota just kept fighting back.
Mm-hmm.
They kept fighting back, getting after it, and the way they just, I mean, it's time to put respect on Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings this year. They're 8-1.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. They're real deal. I mean, that was a game they were not expected to win. And, you know, it took Josh Allen making a couple of big mistakes there late in the game and then again in overtime for them to get the win. But, hey, you play until the clock stops, right? You play until the game's over. And to Minnesota's credit, they did. They got a much deserved win. Yeah, what their only loss was to the Eagles so far. So, yeah, Minnesota's a good football team. I don't think anybody should take them lightly. I mean, they got the best receiver in the game, and just Jefferson. Dalvin Cook is a legit wide receiver or a running back. And going out and getting a guy like Hawkinson too, that was a great move because Kirk Cousins has always liked his tight ends, right? And so you go and get a young, guy from Detroit that's kind of being underutilized there with the Lions. You bring him in, and it just adds another wrinkle to that passing game that they haven't had in a few years.
Yeah, yeah, and it's and I mean, surprised, like you said, but then again, also, T.J. Hawkinson, yeah, like was not being used to his full potential. I don't think
Mm-mm.
with the Lions, and then they've had the quarterback issues over the past couple years, so with Jared Goff there, so it only made sense, and it was a good deal for both sides, and to have Hawkinson go over there to Minnesota with a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, it just adds more dimension to that offense. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, T.J. Hawkinson now, so and of course Dalvin Cook in the backfield. So I mean, yeah, man, the Vikings, they've been playing good football this year, and I expect that to continue. How far it's going to lead, I don't know, but again, they surprised a lot of people, including myself. So
Yeah. So I got a question for you, Jay. So is it time for Atlanta to make a quarterback change? Because Mariota looks so bad on Thursday night.
Um, I mean, well, if you're asking from a football standpoint, from looking at it from a coach size, possibly not. I will probably stick with my quarterback I've been having, in the lineup now. But from my own perspective, I think it's time to put Desmond Ritter in. Marcus Mariota has just I mean, he hasn't been playing up to par, but again, they just have issues with the chemistry, and the guys haven't been catching a lot of balls. Kyle Pitts, this connection hasn't really formed there, so it's been a little bits and pieces of different things. I can't say I pin it all on Marcus, but some of
Mm.
it I can. It just doesn't. That dynamic isn't there with the offense. So I'm hoping that they can get it turned around against Chicago this week on Sunday at home. But if not, then I think you need to make a change at quarterback.
I mean, you're running into the buzzsaw that are the Chicago Bears right now, and Justin Fields, a guy who the last 2 weeks has run for over 300 yards. Like, it's just incredible what he's putting together. So this should be a really interesting. I'm really looking forward to that game to see, if the Bears and Justin Fields can keep this going. I mean, it always scares me when you get a big running quarterback like this, right? You're just afraid that one hit, right, and he's out. So if he can just kind of fine tune what he's doing there in the pocket and actually get rid of the ball a little bit sooner. I think that'd be good news for them. I mean, the Bears, that sky's the limit if Justin Fields can figure out how to become a pure passer because we know his legs are great. I mean, he has shown that time and time again. And they got a pretty good defense, even though they traded away two of their best defensive players. So it should be a fun game. I'm looking forward to it. If I'm Atlanta, I'm mainly giving Mariota one more week, but if he looks like he did on Thursday night, like you gotta at least see what you got in the rookie, right? You gotta try something else because Mariota, man, he looked like he was just trying to give Carolina the ball. He's like, I'm spinning around here, catch it. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, just I mean, very questionable there, and the Falcons are just at a point now where they this is the roster they have,
Yeah.
so they're just playing with what they have, and they're gonna have a lot of spending money coming up in the 2023 free agency pool, but for right now, it's just and somehow they're still in the mix of everything,
Yeah.
so if they can just continue to run the football, which something they couldn't do against Carolina that well. If they can get back on that, run the football, try to take some of that pressure off Mariota to pass a lot. Even though you still want to get him those looks, those touches every now and then. And then, man, just more connection with Kyle Pitts. I want to see that continue to grow
And
and
that's
get better.
Yeah, that's the key, right? I mean, you have this dynamic player that is just he's a unicorn out there. There's no other tight end like him. He's a wide receiver that's built like a tight end. You need to get the ball in his hands. Do little screens, do jet sweeps, do something. Get this guy the football. I don't know who the offensive coordinator is in Atlanta, but I don't like him. because he's not finding a way to get confidence the ball. Also, Drake London looks good. Like they've got a lot of young talent there, and that's why I think maybe if they lose to Chicago, you might see a switch at quarterback because you got to try something, right? You got to see. You mentioned it. You got a lot of young guys. The team they're rolling with, they're going to have money next year. So see what you got in Ritter. Right, get him out there, give him some time. I would have loved to have seen Ritter a little bit in that second half. I know it was wet and it was a little bit of a monsoon going on, not the best time for him to come in there, but why not? Put his feet to the fire. See what he can do. See if he can handle himself out there. Maybe you find yourself your next starting quarterback.
Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
there's obviously a reason that they took him in the draft when they did. They saw something in him, and and
Yeah.
they believe that he could be the franchise quarterback one day. And I totally believe that he can as well. But again, you you don't know unless like you gotta give him
Yeah.
some regular season reps, like preseason. No, you need to give him some regular season reps
Regular
because I
season
mean
rest. Yeah.
that's in the end that's what's going to matter. You're not going to be playing against four stringers when he
Right.
does eventually become the starter. So he's got to, I believe, at some point, yeah, get some of that playing time, especially if they lose against Chicago on Sunday.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I heard
yeah,
you mention it. You said there's a reason they drafted this kid, right? And yeah, there's probably a reason they're not starting too, right? He's probably, something in practice where they're like he's not quite getting it. Maybe the speed's just a little too fast for him too. Maybe, right? But you never know till you get him in there. At least get him in there for a series, Maybe get him in there just to throw a pass, maybe to hand off the ball, but just to kind of calm those nerves early on and get his feet wet. Right, get this kid a chance. Mariota's not the answer. He's had a couple of good games. There's been a couple of games where I'm like, oh, Mariota. And then there's been those games where it's like, oh, Mariota.
yeah, it's just like that. That hey,
Yeah, I
um,
do. I do. I watched a lot of Falcons football this year.
yeah, it's very up and down. But again,
Oh, yeah.
they play against Justin Fields in Chicago on Sunday, 1 o'clock. So that'll be an interesting game right there. But man, Monday Night Football, Nick. Eagles and the Commanders. Eagles trying to move to 9-0, and the Commanders just continue trying to get some wins here, and they shot Philadelphia, man. The unbeaten Eagles are no more. So should we be concerned about Philadelphia moving forward here?
I mean, they're a good football team, right? I just badmouth Atlanta's offensive coordinator. And I'm a badmouth Philadelphia's because I got AJ Brown on your team and he gets one catch in the football game. Like I know he leads off a little bit, but he came back. Get him the ball. Right? Even if it's a little quick out, the 49ers are famous for this, right? The Rams do it. This West Coast offense where you just get the ball in your playmaker's hands and let him go make a play. And I don't know, they just weren't doing it last night. Maybe Washington, made a point to take him out of it. And that's the difference. And that gave kind of the rest of the league a blueprint of how to beat this team. But Washington's a good football team. They're above 500. Everybody in the East is above 500. It's a team that last year was like, wow, they're going to be under 500, whoever wins the division. It's flipped. They've actually got a whole better this year. It's a lot of good teams. And I was surprised that Washington won, but at the same time, when you're talking about a division game, they always play each other hard. It doesn't matter, what team's playing what team. If they're in the same division and they play each other twice a year, they're going to know how to beat that team. They might not be able to do it, but they're going to know how to do it. And Washington and Ron Rivera showed last night, like, this is how you beat the Eagles. So maybe they show the secret to the rest of the league, and we'll see how they respond this weekend, right? That's kind of a big deal. It's how they come back, how they look going forward after taking that first knock on the chin. Because we remember what happened with the Arizona Cardinals last year, right? Got
Yeah,
out to that hot start, and then all of a sudden lost in the first opening round of the playoffs. Like, it could happen to the Eagles too. You can't rule it out.
yeah, you can't. Like you said, just they finally got that blow to the chin right there.
Yeah.
And it
It's
was
the old
coming.
Mike Tyson saying, right? Everybody's got a plan till they get knocked in the mouth. Well, Philadelphia just got knocked in the mouth, so let's see what their plan is going forward.
That's right, man. You said it. And they just, I mean, it was bound to happen at some point. Bills got theirs early in the year. I believe it was against the Dolphins. I believe it was their first
That was
loss.
early, yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, you and these are two teams everybody thought was like gonna just go crazy and and just dominate the rest of the league. But we've seen some cracks here in both teams right now. And then with Philadelphia again, but we got to give Washington credit the way they came in there and played hard. Taylor Heineke just coming in doing his thing, man. It's like he's that. I don't know, man. He's just a fan favorite there. He's that guy, He's just come in there and former XFL guys moved around different teams, and he come in Washington. He's just been a a fan favorite there on that team. So it's really
They'd be
exciting.
Yeah, they'd be crazy to go back to Carson Wentz. Like what Heineke has done for this franchise since coming back, what he did for them last year, what he did for them in the playoffs 2 years ago. Like Heineke knows how to play football. He doesn't throw the prettiest ball. He's not going to put up the best numbers, but he knows how to play football and he knows how to win football games. And that's what you need, especially when you're a team like Washington with a couple great running backs, a fantastic wide receiver that they're just starting to use with Heineke in there. Like Wentz just wasn't getting him the ball. So I don't know. I think that we see Heineke going forward even when Wentz is healthy.
Yeah, most definitely. So the Washington Commanders, I almost call them the football team.
Yeah.
They're changing their name every year, man. I just but I mean, I believe next year what they're gonna be who knows, right?
The Senators or something.
Yeah. So jumping into again a different light here, Nick, but the Raiders took another loss to the Colts on Sunday, and they're just spiraling out of control. And so my question for you is: do you believe that Josh McDaniels is on the hot seat in his first year in Las Vegas?
He has to be. He has to be. When I mentioned good teams win football games, right? It doesn't matter if they're good, they're bad, they're ugly, they're pretty. It doesn't matter. A guy like Taylor Heineke knows how to win a football game. It does not appear that Josh McDaniel knows how to win a football game because you can't lose to the Colts and a coach who's never played before, like coached before. Like, come on, that was ugly. And they keep losing. They had a 17-point lead 2 weeks ago and lost it. Like, this is a team that has probably, one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL. Josh Jacobs has shown again that he is probably a top 5 running back in the league. And at defense, Crosby's coming off, wasn't he like the defensive player of the year last year, or maybe runner-up? Like, these are guys that should be out there dominating, and they start well every week, and then it's like, no, we're gonna dish out here on the second half. I don't know this. And you saw Derek Carr after the game. I don't know if you saw the video of him just being like, not everybody on this team wants to win as much as I do. And that's got to be frustrating. When you're the quarterback, you're supposed to be the leader of that team, and you're calling out teammates because they don't want to win. This is a profession. There's a lot of guys out there that want jobs in the NFL. So if these guys are out there not wanting to win, not caring, just there to collect a paycheck, like, that sucks.
Yeah, and Devontae Adams said something similar. That he said he just doesn't think they have guys that are bought in, on the team. And so you got your star quarterback.
That's a leadership thing, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be a McDaniels thing. Like, they're just not believing what he's selling.
Yeah. So it's got to start at the top, man. When you're starting quarterback and your star receiver are both saying that same statement, they're pretty much that the team's just not bought in, and they don't care. Pretty much, it's like that. Okay, as a head coach, what are you doing?
Yeah. Right.
And so
something wrong.
Yeah,
there's something wrong there for sure. So don't be surprised if DeMeco Ryans is the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders next year.
Hey, you know what? I wouldn't doubt it. I think that would be
that'd be a good fit for him. I think.
That'd be a good fit.
Yeah.
So
better there than Carolina.
Yeah. He probably wouldn't want to coach over there.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit easier division though. Let's be honest. That AFC West is brutal.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're telling me. Yeah, it is. Yeah, extremely brutal. Except, the Broncos are.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
I think it's safe to say.
I was just expecting it to, them to stick something during the bye week and come out and look a whole lot better, and it just didn't look that different.
No, I don't know what the problem is there. I don't know if it's just something that's not right. A lot of people think it's Russell Wilson, and then it's like it might be Nathaniel Hackett, or I don't know. But it looks to me right now that from the way things are presenting, that the Seahawks possibly won that trade.
Yeah, definitely.
If we're being honest, Nick, I think so.
Yep.
So
100%. Unless Russell Wilson all of a sudden flips the switch, and all of a sudden becomes a good quarterback again, Seattle won that 100%.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Well, Nick, it's been great talking some football with you, man. As always, as it is, having you on the show here, and a great Sunday of NFL football, and and an interesting Monday night as well. So we'll continue to just move on throughout the season here, man. Just week by week, man. Shoot, Thanksgiving's next week, and so it's like time is just moving on fast here, man. So any last thoughts before we get off here?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming up on week 11. You said it. This is the back stretch here, and this is when teams really show if they've got what it takes. Philadelphia went off to a hot start, and all of a sudden they're trailing off. A team like Washington got off to a slow start, and now they're turning it on. So it is, the league's going to look a whole lot different next week, 2 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now. So, man, I'm just so excited. I love every single week of football, and I can't wait for that Monday night game, Niners Cardinals. Let's go. I want to see what Pal's got up his sleeves.
Yeah. And I think that 49ers defense is gonna just continue to be stingy and give them fits. So, they've just played a great year, and I just love how, because a few years back they weren't like this, they weren't this good, but they were one of the best defenses in the league.
It's way up or way down for the 49ers. It's either like playoffs, NFC Championship game, Super Bowl, or miss the playoffs.
Right. Yes, sir, Nick. But thank you for coming on the podcast, man, as always. And we'll be talking to you again pretty soon here. Hopefully about a 49ers win, right?
There you go. I like it, Jay. Bench Mariota.
Hey, Arthur Smith, he said it, not me, okay?
Get him out of
there! All right. But thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. Check us out here on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. Also, give us a follow on Twitter. We're right there. So we will see you guys next time on Jay's Sit Down. Thank you.